It's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Now I'm going to be doing a Halloween soap today. I'm only doing one Halloween soap this year, and that's because really in the UK Halloween isn't as big as it is, say for example over in the US, so I don't tend to sell a lot of Halloween soaps. So I'm just making the one. I'm probably going to be making some more sort of like autumn fall type soaps as well, but just one that's specifically Halloween. So that's what I'm doing today. Now I'm going to have sort of like skeletons coming out of the ground and walking around a graveyard with bats flying in the air. So that's what I'm going to do. And what I've got here is I've already extruded out some white soap dough made with titanium dioxide for all these are all my little bones and things of my skeletons, and then I've got some antique silver soap dough for some gravestones, and I've also extruded some little black bats as well. So that's all the things I've extruded. I'm not going to go over all the extruding in this video. There's lots of other videos where I do the extruding, but I'm actually in a little bit of a hurry today, so I need to just get this one done. Okay, so those are my things I'm going to extrude, and obviously I'm going to hopefully try and piece this skeleton together with all its individual little bones. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I need to make a soil layer, because I'm going to have my first skeleton sort of waking up and bursting out of the grave. So I've got my oils here melted down and my lye and my sodium lactate. Let me just get my gloves on just before I start actually doing soapy stuff. Okay, that's better. Right, now my soil, not surprisingly, is going to be brown. So I'm going to use, this is chestnut brown from Pure Rock Colours. It's the only actual sort of proper brown that I ever use. And because I'm making this all one colour, this soil, I'm just going to add it straight into my oils before I mix everything up. Now my oils actually are a little bit hot at the moment, 102. So I'm just mix this mica in a little bit, but then I am going to let them cool down a little bit. I don't need them to be super fluid, but I do want to take a little bit of time and start sort of putting in my skeleton bones in sort of the right place. So I do want a bit of working time with it. And the fragrance I'm using is Dragon's Blood from Nature's Garden. And it's not a super fast moving fragrance oil, it's fine, but it's also, it does accelerate a little bit. So that's going to cut my time down a bit. So yeah, I'm just going to let that cool a little bit more, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to mix that soap up. Okay, I'm a little bit cooler now. It's still not ideally where I want to be, at 93 degrees Fahrenheit, but my lie's fairly cool. It's about 65, so that will bring it down a little bit more. Okay, so let's get that blended up. Okay, it's only a very small amount, so I don't want to over blend it. Okay, so there's my brown. I've just split it pretty evenly into two parts, just because I'm going to add my fragrance oil to this little bit first, but I want this bit to stay a little bit more fluid. Okay, now as I said, this isn't a super fast moving fragrance oil, but it's not super slow either. So right, so let's just get this base in here for my soil. And I'm just going to let that set a little. As you can see, it's not hurrying along massively. So I do need that to set a little bit, so it will start to hold those embeds. Now while I'm just letting that set up a little bit, this little section here is the rib cage of my skeleton, and it's got some quite narrow gaps between it, which potentially could end up with gaps in the soap. So I'm just going to take some of this soap with a nice clean paintbrush and just use that to get some soap in between these gaps, so that my embed is filled up. Okay, so I'm hoping that will be okay. Let's just move that off the side and then we'll start putting the other skeleton bones in the mould. Right, I'm going to start building this skeleton. Now I know with the brown in there it's probably not the easiest to see, but hopefully you can see sort of enough. So this first tiny piece of soap dough is going to be for a foot. So I'm just going to pop that in. Okay, and then first part of a leg bone. And I'm going to leave that sticking up a bit at the moment, and then I'm going to bend it towards the next leg bone in a minute. Okay, so what I want to do is sort of pull those two leg bones together, but I want to make sure that there's enough soap in the middle of them. So I'm just going to get the rest of this soap ready by putting that fragrance in. Okay, so I'm just going to pour some in the middle there, and then I sort of want to angle these leg bones together so it's almost like they're looking, you know, with their knees slightly going together. Okay, so hopefully that's okay. Now is hip bones. Obviously I'm not doing every single bone in the body. Right, hip bones. Okay, right, so now I want to get a bit more of this brown in so I can then support the rib cage. Okay, so here's that little rib cage that I filled up earlier. Make sure I get it round the right way. Okay, so I think I'm okay with that. And then I just want to finish off the rest of this brown, just to finish off this soil level. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I know it's difficult to see in there. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time cleaning off these sides and making sure it's nice and tidy so I don't get that brown over the rest of the soap. And then we're going to mix up our next layer. I've made up the grassy layer now, though. This is Emerald Lagoon from Pure Rock Colours, but I have added a little touch of activated charcoal in it because this is supposed to be a nighttime scene. So I want the grass, I don't want it to be, you know, like a bright green, which Emerald Lagoon isn't really, it's a dark green, but I did want it to be quite dark so you could just sort of see the green colour, but it's still supposed to be nighttime. So again, I'm just going to pour off a little bit of this. Just to get me going with this layer. Let's add the fragrance. to warm this just a tiny bit. Okay, so that's warmed up. That was about sort of 10 seconds in the microwave. Let's have a look at the temperature now. Okay, 120. Right, so I'm just going to pop this in. And then pop in some more bones. It's very fiddly with these little bones. Right. So a bit of the arm. Okay, and then the other bit. Okay, so I think I've got those arms in pretty well the right place, and I've just popped in some of that extra green. Now what I want to do before I put the skeleton's head in is I've got a gravestone to go behind this skeleton. I'm just going to drop that in right against the wall of the soap there. Okay, and then, whoops, where's my skeleton's head gone? Ah, here it is. I thought I'd lost his head then. Right, so then the skeleton head. Okay, pretty happy with that. Just going to spread out some of this spare green. And now I want to start filling that up with the rest of the green, but also I'm going to bring in some other little skeletons as well as I go through that have already busted out. And obviously are running up the grass. Now I want this to be slightly on an angle, so I can sort of like have a hill. So I'm just going to prop that up and just a screwed up cloth. Okay, and then let's just get a couple more of these little diddly skeletons in. I'm hoping that's going to be fine. It's always tricky when you're doing them on an angle to try and make sure your embeds are up straight, but if my skeletons are a bit wonky because they're wobbling around, that's okay. Right, that's all those embeds in. I'm pretty happy with that. I think they've gone in okay. I'm just going to leave that to set up a little bit and then we'll just do the sky bit. So I've mixed up my soap that I need for the last layer, which is my sky, and I'm going to do sort of, because it's Halloweeny, a purple orange, almost an ombre type sky. So what I'm going to do first of all is just pour half of this off, about half of it. And I've also poured off a little bit, and this is just for me so I have something to decorate the top with. So first of all I'm going to have in this jug some purple to start with. And because I'm going to do an ombre, it means that I'm going to be mixing all the colours in one pot. So what I'm doing is, I'm just going to leave this pot sort of dirty, and then I'm going to use the rest of the mica that's in here with this little bit of soap, which will then give me some colours for the top. That's my purple. And then the same thing here with an orange. Now I don't have an orange in this assessment that I'm using, so I can make my orange because I do have a red and a yellow, so that's okay. And some yellow, and then my red, and then what I can do with these, actually that might be a bit too much red still in there. It's just add a little bit of this soap. I'm not going to need much, just so I've got some colours to go on the top. I think that's going to be plenty. Let's pop the rest of that in there. Now I want this orange to be quite a dark sort of red orange. Okay, so it's almost red, but just not quite red. I've just got a hint of yellow in there, so I think that's fine. And then these will just be my bits for the top. Right, so let's just start ombreing this in. Okay, I wanted a nice bit of purple first of all. Okay, so there's my ombre done. Let's just gently lower that down. And what I now want to do is put in my little bats. And then let's just do our top. So here's those colours we had saved off. I think I put the yellow on first because that's the most contrasting. Okay, so let's just do this top. So I'm just going to simply sort of do some little wiggles going up like this. Okay, then I'm going to go through the thinner one and do it again. Okay, so there's the top on that done. So I was trying to make it sort of look a bit fiery, you know, thinking Halloween, that sort of thing, winter, well, autumn. So hopefully that's a little bit fiery. So I'm going to put this away overnight. I'm just going to pop it, and then we'll have a look at, see what that looks like when I cut it. So here's our Halloween soap the next day. So let's get it cut. I'm a little bit, wouldn't say worried, but I'm wondering about how well that skeleton's come out, because it was quite tricky to put all those individual bones in. So hopefully it does sort of resemble a skeleton, but we'll see in a minute, won't we? So let's get this cut. That's come out all right. My little mini skeleton's a good bit drunk, but I suppose if you just dug yourself out of the ground, you'd probably be a little bit wobbly. I could have done with the skeleton's head, certainly on these ones, being a little bit closer to the body, but I think you can kind of see what's going on there. I do like the ombre and my bats flying around. Look at him. They've come out pretty cool. I think they'll be fairly similar all the way along. There's that top's come out nicely. And there's our little skeleton digging his way out of the ground. Yeah, I think they've come out all right. I do really like that. These ones are quite funny, these little skeletons.
I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it'd be great if you gave me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!